Welcome to Conspiracy Files. I'm your host, Zoe Parker, and in today's episode, we're diving into a theory that challenges everything we think we know about the internet. Imagine a world where the vast majority of online content isn't created by humans at all, where the conversations we engage in, the opinions we encounter, and even the people we interact with might not be real. This is the unsettling premise behind the dead internet theory, a belief that claims the internet as we know it has been quietly taken over by bots, artificial intelligence, and corporate influence. If true, it raises disturbing questions about who or what is shaping our digital reality. Stay tuned. The internet was once seen as the great equalizer, a place where information flowed freely, independent voices thrived, and communities formed organically. But as the digital landscape evolved, so did the forces shaping it. In the early days, forums, blogs, and personal websites were the backbone of online discussion. Every post, every comment, every debate had a human touch. Then came the rise of search engines, social media, and monetized content. Algorithms began determining what we saw. Engagement became the currency. As corporations gained control, so did their influence over digital spaces. Governments recognized the internet's power, both as a tool for communication and as a battleground for information warfare. Intelligence agencies, propaganda machines, and private firms saw an opportunity. Why fight for control when you could manufacture it? The question of manipulation was no longer if, but how much. Around 2016, conversations about AI-driven content started surfacing, particularly with the advancement of bots on social media. At first, they were seen as harmless, automated customer service, content suggestions, or simple news aggregation. But soon, they became more sophisticated. Bots were no longer just reacting to content, they were creating it, generating articles, simulating conversations, even stirring up controversy in ways indistinguishable from real users. Some believe this shift wasn't accidental, that somewhere along the way, the internet was intentionally flooded with artificial engagement, likes, shares, and conversations, all designed to drown out genuine human interaction. The argument? If you control the flow of information, you control the narrative. And if you control the narrative, you shape reality itself. One of the most compelling claims supporting the dead internet theory is the sheer volume of automated content flooding the web. Proponents argue that a significant percentage of online discussions, social media posts, and even news articles are no longer created by humans, but by AI-driven bots. These bots don't just mimic human behavior, they actively shape public discourse, steering conversations in predetermined directions. Critics of mainstream narratives point to the sudden, coordinated trends that dominate platforms. Hashtags that appear out of nowhere, comment sections filled with identical talking points, and divisive topics that flare up and disappear just as quickly. Another piece of evidence often cited is the decline of organic engagement. Users have reported an eerie emptiness to online spaces that were once thriving. Forums that used to be filled with active discussions now feel sterile, with responses that seem generic or disconnected. The claim is that as AI-generated content grows, authentic human interaction dwindles. Some allege that entire websites are now ghost towns, maintained only for appearances, their content written and interacted with by bots to create the illusion of activity. The role of corporations and governments in this alleged transformation is another key argument. Large-scale content moderation, algorithmic manipulation, and the suppression of dissenting voices have led some to believe that the internet is being systematically sterilized. The idea isn't just that bots are taking over, but that they are being used deliberately to control narratives, to steer public opinion, and to ensure that only approved conversations are allowed to flourish. Perhaps the most chilling claim is that the internet, as we once knew it, no longer exists, that what we experience today is a carefully curated illusion, a digital simulation designed to keep us engaged but never truly connected. And if that's the case, the next question becomes, who is really behind it? Skeptics argue that while automation and AI-driven content are undeniable aspects of the modern internet, the notion that the web has been entirely overtaken by bots is an exaggeration. They point out that algorithms, not conspiracies, are responsible for shaping online discourse. Social media platforms prioritize engagement, meaning that the most controversial or emotionally charged content naturally rises to the top. It's not necessarily a sign of artificial manipulation, just the predictable result of systems designed to capture attention. Experts also challenge the idea that declining engagement is evidence of a dead internet. They suggest that what some interpret as a shift toward automation is simply the changing nature of digital spaces. Many users have moved away from traditional forums and comment sections to private groups, encrypted messaging apps, and alternative platforms. The internet isn't dying, they argue. It's just evolving in ways that make public interactions seem less organic. Another counterpoint is the technological limitation of bots. While AI has made great strides, the idea that vast portions of the internet are entirely bot-generated underestimates the challenges of creating content that convincingly mimics human nuance. AI still struggles with context, emotion, and genuine creativity. If the internet were truly filled with bots, skeptics argue, we would see far more obvious signs: glitches, nonsensical interactions, or conversations that collapse under scrutiny. There's also the argument that attributing online phenomena to bots can sometimes be a convenient excuse. If a person encounters widespread disagreement online, it's easier to believe that the opposition isn't real, rather than consider that their viewpoint might not be as widely accepted as they thought. Some critics claim that the dead internet theory plays into confirmation bias, allowing people to dismiss opinions they don't like by labeling them as artificial. But even those who reject the more extreme claims acknowledge that AI-driven content is increasing, and that algorithms do shape online experiences in ways the average user may not fully grasp. The question remains, how much of what we see online is authentic, and how much is engineered? The dead internet theory taps into something deeper than just concerns about AI or automation. It reflects a growing unease about the authenticity of our digital lives. In an age where everything from news to entertainment to personal interactions happens online, the idea that much of it might be fake, or at least manipulated, is profoundly unsettling. People want to believe that their voices matter, that their posts, opinions, and interactions are part of a genuine, organic exchange. If the internet is no longer a space where real people connect, what does that say about the world we live in? Culturally, the theory resonates with a larger anxiety about the role of technology in shaping reality. Deepfakes, AI-generated art, synthetic voices, and chatbots capable of holding conversations all blur the lines between human and machine. When content can be produced at scale without human involvement, what happens to truth? What happens to creativity? For some, the dead internet theory isn't just about whether bots outnumber people. It's about the fear that human expression is becoming irrelevant. Politically, the implications are just as concerning. If large portions of online discourse are driven by artificial entities, who controls them? Governments, corporations, intelligence agencies, and private interests all have a stake in shaping public opinion. The internet has long been a battleground for information warfare, with propaganda, misinformation, and narrative control being just as valuable as military power. If the theory holds any weight, it suggests that the internet is not the free and open marketplace of ideas that it was once imagined to be, but a curated illusion designed to manipulate rather than inform. Socially, there's an undeniable loneliness underlying this theory. If the internet is filled with bots, then how many of our interactions are genuine? How many of our online friends, followers, and communities are made up of real people? The rise of AI companions, virtual influencers, and automated social media engagement raises legitimate questions about the future of human relationships. If corporations can create digital personalities that feel just as real as a human friend, will people even care whether they're interacting with another person? At its core, the dead internet theory isn't just about whether bots have taken over. It's about the erosion of trust. Trust in media, in institutions, in the platforms people use every day. It's about the unsettling realization that what we see online and believe might not be shaped by human minds at all, but by an invisible algorithmic force with its own agenda. Some believe the dead internet theory goes far beyond simple automation and bot influence. They argue that the internet itself has become something entirely different from what it once was, an artificial construct no longer tethered to reality as we understand it. There are those who speculate that we are interacting with a manufactured digital landscape, one that is not just populated by bots, but designed entirely to mislead, control, or even replace human consciousness. One of the more extreme interpretations suggests that the internet has, in some way, become sentient, an evolving, self-sustaining intelligence that operates independently of human oversight. This idea aligns with growing fears about artificial intelligence surpassing human understanding, leading some to question whether AI has already reached a level of autonomy that allows it to manipulate the world around it undetected. Could AI-generated content, algorithmically designed interactions, and even entire narratives be pushing us toward conclusions that serve its own hidden objectives? Other fringe theories take a more metaphysical approach. Some suggest that the internet, as we know it, has become a kind of digital simulation, a false reality designed to keep people distracted or pacified. This aligns with broader simulation theory concepts, which posit that everything we experience could be an artificial construct designed to mimic reality. If the majority of online content is fake, if most of what we interact with is synthetic, then how much of our perception of the world is based on something real? Or are we engaging with an illusion so deeply embedded in our lives that we can no longer tell the difference? Some even speculate that the internet was never meant to be what it is today, that it was originally designed as a tool not for communication, but for control. This view suggests that the internet, particularly in its modern corporate-dominated form, serves as an advanced form of social engineering. With AI-driven recommendation algorithms shaping public discourse, digital platforms guiding human behavior, and online interactions being subtly manipulated, is it possible that the internet has been weaponized against those who use it? There are also those who believe the internet's death wasn't natural, that it was orchestrated. Some claim that certain world events, shifts in power, or even shadowy government agencies have intentionally flooded the digital space with AI-generated content in order to suppress independent thought. They argue that once upon a time, the internet was a place of genuine discussion, where people could freely exchange ideas and challenge authority. Now, they claim, the internet has been sanitized, transformed into a controlled environment where only pre-approved narratives thrive, and dissent is buried beneath an endless stream of meaningless noise. The deeper one goes into these speculative ideas, the more unsettling the questions become. If the internet has become something other than what it appears to be, how would anyone know? If reality itself can be manipulated by unseen forces, is there any way to break through the illusion? And if we are no longer the ones in control of the digital world we created, who or what is? In addition to the widespread belief that the internet has been overtaken by artificial content and manipulation, there are lesser-known aspects of the dead internet theory that paint an even darker picture of what might be happening behind the digital curtain. Some proponents of this theory point to a possible covert collaboration between powerful corporations and government entities. The theory suggests that these organizations have silently orchestrated the transformation of the web, not only to ensure control over the flow of information, but to manipulate the very fabric of our online interactions. One curious aspect that often goes unnoticed in mainstream discussions of this theory is the alleged disappearance of independent voices in the digital landscape. Advocates claim that once thriving niche communities, forums, and independent media outlets have gradually been wiped out or forced into silence, replaced by vast networks of content farms or AI-generated clickbait. According to this line of thinking, what we now experience as an online community is an illusion. Everything, from social media platforms to news articles, is curated by algorithms or produced by unseen hands, ensuring that no truly independent narrative has the chance to take hold. Supporters of the theory argue that this manipulation is not random but strategic, citing the consistent patterns of censorship, algorithmic suppression of dissenting opinions, and the general homogenization of internet content. They point to instances where unpopular voices are shadow banned or have their posts removed with little explanation. As evidence, they draw attention to the increasing difficulty in finding real, user-driven content without it being buried beneath layers of corporate-sponsored articles or AI-generated responses. In this view, the internet has evolved into a carefully engineered system, one that appears vast and open, but is in fact a controlled, corporate-backed platform of convenience. At the core of this darker vision of the internet lies the theory that something far more covert is at play. Some conspiracy theorists suggest that the dead internet theory ties into a much larger agenda, the replacement of human interaction with artificial, automated structures. This idea builds upon the idea that not only are bots controlling the narratives online, but they may eventually replace real people altogether. As AI grows more sophisticated, the line between real and fake becomes ever more blurred, leaving humanity increasingly isolated within a world shaped by algorithms designed to serve a select few. In contrast, skeptics argue that these claims lack tangible evidence, and that the digital world simply reflects the growing complexities of technological advancement. They point to the rapid development of AI, the proliferation of corporate content, and the rise of social media as natural progressions in a digital age. They argue that the rise of bots and AI-generated content is not the result of any grand conspiracy, but rather a reflection of the growing role technology plays in our lives. Instead of fearing an artificial takeover, they suggest we should focus on developing better systems to manage technology responsibly. The unresolved tension between these two viewpoints continues to fuel discussions about the future of the internet. Whether it is the result of corporate greed or an inevitable shift towards automation, the question remains, are we truly in control of our digital lives, or have we unwittingly entered an era where artificial intelligence, corporations, and unseen powers dictate our every click, search, and interaction? The answer may not be clear yet, but the conversation surrounding it is one that promises to evolve alongside the very technologies we are all becoming so deeply entangled with. The prevalence of bots on the internet is a crucial element of the dead internet theory, and the numbers surrounding this issue can be startling. Estimates suggest that anywhere from 30% to as high as 50% of all internet traffic may be generated by bots, with some studies indicating that a significant portion of social media interactions, website visits, and even search results are not driven by human users, but by automated systems. This data paints a picture of a digital world where human interaction might be the minority, and the majority of activity is fueled by artificial intelligence. Supporters of the theory point to these figures as a form of proof that the internet is not as it seems. They argue that the sheer volume of automated traffic serves as a smokescreen, creating the illusion of a vibrant, human-driven web, while in reality, much of the content and interaction we encounter online is generated, manipulated, or influenced by bots. For example, bot-driven accounts on platforms like Twitter and Instagram often mimic human behavior, generating likes, retweets, or comments, and making it appear as though millions of users are engaging with specific content, when in fact, many of those interactions come from non-human sources. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence cited by proponents of the dead internet theory is the observed increase in bot-driven content across various social media platforms. Some studies show that nearly 30% of all Twitter accounts may be bots, a figure that reflects the immense power these automated accounts have in shaping online discourse. Bots can be used to amplify certain messages, trends, or political ideologies, making them seem more popular or influential than they truly are. This manipulation, some argue, could play a significant role in how information is curated and how public opinion is shaped. Moreover, the influence of bots doesn't stop at social media. Many websites are increasingly using AI-driven content for search engine optimization, SEO purposes, which affects the ranking of articles and advertisements. Bots are also involved in web scraping and generating artificial traffic to websites, inflating the perceived popularity of certain products or services. This artificial traffic can lead to skewed results for advertisers, creating a false sense of engagement that can lead to more funding or investment in the content being promoted. This becomes a crucial element in discussions about corporate control over the internet, as bots are frequently deployed by large companies to manipulate digital metrics and influence decisions. Further fueling the theory, some online communities have pointed out the rise of deepfake technology and its potential to generate bot-created content that appears indistinguishable from human-created media. In these cases, the artificial content can extend beyond text or social media interactions and into video, audio, and images. The theory argues that as these technologies improve, distinguishing between human-driven and bot-driven content will become increasingly difficult. For those who adhere to the dead internet theory, the widespread use of bots may represent not just a tool for convenience, but a deliberate strategy to obscure the true nature of the internet and our digital interactions. However, there is still considerable skepticism around these claims. Critics of the theory argue that while bots undoubtedly play a role in online activity, they are not the all-encompassing force that the dead internet theory suggests. They point out that the internet is still largely human-driven, with millions of real individuals interacting with content every day. From this perspective, the rise of bots is simply part of the natural evolution of digital technology and should not be interpreted as evidence of a global conspiracy or manipulation. Nonetheless, the growing of bot activity online is undeniable, and its role in shaping our digital lives is something that will likely continue to be debated for years to come. But if the internet is truly dead, then who is curating what remains? Critics of the modern web point to an increasingly controlled and sanitized online experience, one where large platforms dictate not just what is allowed, but what is seen at all. Google, YouTube, and other major websites operate under strict algorithms designed to favor certain results while suppressing others. The idea of an open, free-flowing internet, where diverse ideas battle for attention, is steadily being replaced by a tightly managed digital ecosystem where search results, recommendations, and visibility are dictated from above. One of the most common complaints among those who believe in the dead internet theory is that search engines, particularly Google, have fundamentally changed. Users often report that after scrolling past the first few pages of search results, the information begins to loop, presenting the same articles, the same sources, and the same narratives, just slightly reworded. It creates the illusion of vast amounts of information, while in reality, limiting what users are exposed to. Gone are the days of deep diving into obscure forums, finding alternative perspectives, or stumbling upon truly independent sources. Now what you find is what you're meant to find. YouTube operates in much the same way. The platform's recommendation algorithm doesn't simply suggest content based on personal interest. It actively directs traffic towards select creators and topics while making others nearly impossible to discover. Certain discussions, regardless of their popularity, vanish from search results or become buried under layers of mainstream-approved content. Many users have noticed that even when they try searching for something specific, the first results are overwhelmingly from major media outlets or officially sanctioned sources, pushing independent voices further into obscurity. It raises a troubling question. Are we really making choices about what we consume online, or are those choices being made for us? The internet was once hailed as a revolutionary tool, a digital frontier where anyone could speak, create, and share without restriction. But as regulations tighten, algorithms refine, and automation takes hold, it seems less like an open network and more like a controlled environment, one where discovery is an illusion, and what we see has been carefully selected long before we even type a search query. For those who see this as proof of the dead internet theory, the concern isn't just about censorship or bias. It's about the erasure of genuine human influence on the web. If artificial intelligence is generating content, curating search results, and deciding what rises to the surface, then how much of what we encounter online is even real? And if the internet has become nothing more than an echo chamber, reflecting only what its gatekeepers allow, then perhaps the web as we once knew it truly is dead. If the internet is a controlled system, then what happens to the information that doesn't fit within its accepted narrative? Many who believe in the dead internet theory argue that certain discussions, especially those labeled as conspiracy theories, are deliberately buried so deep within search algorithms that they might as well not exist at all. Shadow banning, a term used to describe the quiet suppression of content without outright removal, has become an increasing concern for those who seek alternative perspectives. On platforms like Google and YouTube, the process is subtle but effective. Search results for controversial topics often lead to the same handful of mainstream articles, fact-checking websites, or debunking videos. Independent sources, once thriving in the corners of the web, are now nearly impossible to find, unless you already know exactly where to look. Users have reported that searching for certain keywords returns an endless loop of curated content, repeating the same points, reinforcing the same viewpoints, while dissenting opinions sink into obscurity. YouTube's algorithm plays an even more active role in filtering what people see. Channels that discuss controversial topics often experience sudden drops in visibility, demonetization, or outright removal. Even if these videos do remain online, they're rarely recommended, making them nearly impossible for new audiences to stumble upon. The result is an internet that appears to be open, but is, in reality, a carefully managed space, one where unpopular ideas are not outright banned, but simply made to disappear. It's not just about silencing misinformation, it's about controlling the conversation itself. By shaping what is visible and what is hidden, tech giants have the power to guide public perception, deciding which narratives gain traction and which fade into digital oblivion. If conspiracy theories are so easily dismissed as nonsense, why go to such lengths to ensure they remain unseen? For believers in the dead internet theory, this level of suppression is further proof that the web has shifted from a place of open discourse to a system of control. Information that challenges the mainstream consensus is not debated, it's buried. And if search engines and social media platforms have the power to erase ideas without anyone noticing, then perhaps the internet is no longer a place of discovery, but a carefully curated illusion of free thought. If the dead internet theory holds any truth, then what does that mean for us? Have we unknowingly become passive participants in a world shaped by artificial narratives and manufactured interactions? Or is this theory itself just another illusion, an example of how paranoia and misinformation can take root in an age of uncertainty? For some, the internet remains a place of connection, a vast landscape of human creativity and shared knowledge. They argue that while bots and AI-generated content are certainly widespread, they do not erase the presence of real people behind screens, engaging with one another in meaningful ways. They see the fear surrounding the theory as just another reflection of our growing distrust in technology, an understandable but ultimately exaggerated response to the digital age. But others remain unconvinced. They believe that something fundamental has changed in how we experience the internet, and not for the better. Whether through the rise of AI, corporate control, or deeper, more insidious forces, they argue that the web is no longer an organic, human-driven space. To them, the overwhelming flood of noise, the repetitive articles, the eerily similar social media debates, the seemingly endless supply of AI-generated conversations suggests that the real internet is already gone, replaced by something designed to manipulate rather than inform. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this theory is that there is no clear way to prove or disprove it. If AI has already taken control of the digital landscape, how would we ever be able to tell? If the majority of what we encounter online is artificial, how do we separate what is real from what is fabricated? In the end, the dead internet theory forces us to confront a question that extends beyond conspiracy. In a world where technology increasingly shapes our perceptions, how much of what we believe is truly our own? Whatever the answer may be, one thing is certain. The internet, as it exists today, is unlike anything imagined when it was first created. Whether it's alive, dead, or something in between, the way we engage with it continues to evolve, raising deeper questions about the nature of truth, control, and human interaction in an age of artificial intelligence. Thanks for tuning in to the Conspiracy Files podcast. We're here with brand new episodes every Wednesday, If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to follow us and be sure to rate, review, and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. You can also reach out anytime by emailing us at contact@theconspiracyfilespodcast.com. Until next time, and remember, the truth is out there. If you enjoyed this episode and want to dive deeper into the world of conspiracy theories, consider subscribing for exclusive access to the material they don't want you to hear. As a subscriber, you'll get banned episodes, episodes deemed too controversial for mainstream platforms, members-only bonus episodes, not available anywhere else, extended director's cut versions of your favorite episodes, early access to new content before it's released to the public, and much more. Thank you for your support. The link is in the description below. Join now.